Things, once again, are not good, and I want to illustrate how bad things actually are financially. In the last few episodes we've done a lot of expansion and a lot of building because I assumed that we were in a good position, but underneath everything we're really not. If we look at the overall income sheet here, we can see that generally our running costs are increasing because we're building more, but we've also got a high income. That income is larger and we're not paying back loan interest, which is good. But the rate I'm spending and the rate I'm needing to spend at right now, it means that year on year we're not really making much money. Previously I was taking out loans, I was using port barrels, and I have done that to quite an extent. To such an extent that I decided that I'm going to stop using port barrels at 50 million, and unfortunately I've now used all that up. So I need to really come up with other alternatives to make money. There's other routes, there's other towns, there's other ways I can make money, but what I needed to do was really go back over what I'd done previously, because I've not done that in quite a few episodes. I have a lot of routes, a lot of towns, a lot of cargo which is just on inefficient vehicles, connected up in poor ways, and really could do with a bit of a reform. This is where we come to this large time lapse you're about to see, but I just want to look at some things in a bit closer detail first. As we can see our age graph, we've got a lot of vehicles which are just expired, they're sort of too old now, and a lot of this is on some of our cargo routes. We've got a lot more efficient cargo vehicles now which we'll explore in this episode. There's the same that can be said about a lot of buses as well. Braeswick and Kettletop, for example, I've not touched these two towns in a long time. They're connected up by a basic bus route, however they're using buses which are no longer actually available in my road depots. These towns and these routes really need a real consideration, and that's what I'm going to focus on. Starting off by actually looking at all the vehicles, we can see that with the ships is quite varied. In the last episode we brought in some new mods, and that's really helped me to try and turn some of these routes profitable and meet the demand on some of the less obvious and longer distance routes. However, there's some routes which I've just not gone and applied my new boats to. You can tell those are the two negative ones, and we're going to do that and probably a little bit more tweaking in this episode. On the roads, things are really varied. In the last two episodes we've gone and expanded the roads both in between towns and in towns themselves just to accommodate for the more traffic on the road. That traffic being some of our vehicles but also just the general population through the AI. We can see that the main success we're having is from cargo, however we could be doing so much better by using the efficient vehicles, and we can actually then take some more of our trucks off the road. On the flip side, we're not doing very well in some areas. This is mainly down by Longhope, Lyoness and the town of Rackwick. These towns are very far apart, so we need to adapt, we need to get faster buses on there, more direct routes, and we also probably don't want to be going around as many bus stops in the town because that's where the buses are really going to be slowing down, and a lot of the time they're already full by the time they get halfway around the town anyway, so we're just losing money out. We then come to the controversial trains, where I've definitely had different ideas from a few different people, and I really need to go and expand the trains a lot more. It's going to be the backbone of this series and of this archipelago, as I've said many times. However, what I've really struggled with is I've just not had the finance to be able to actually apply a lot of the trains I want to. For example, there's been many calls for me to connect up Whitehall and Grobster with a train, and considering I've already got a track we might as well, I've just not had the time to actually go and focus on that, so we'll hopefully get to do that this episode. Additionally, with the current two routes we've got right now, we can see that things are doing okay, but they could be doing a lot better. We've removed the bus between Bury and St Margaret's Hope, and that has had a great effect. It means that there's a large demand, much larger than the Red Arrow train can supply. So we're going to have to upgrade that train, possibly even add two in there, double up the bridge, but that's going to come at a cost, but we need to weigh all of this up. Two more graphs I want to talk about. This one here tracks, it just shows our expenditure increase in recent years. Right now, at the end of episode 8 or the start of episode 9 before the time lapse, we're in 1975. We can see that over the past 25 years, things have just gone through the roof with trains. That's because now we've got 3 rail routes. The interesting thing is there's a lot of talk about trains, but let's actually look at the towns and see really what actually needs a transport upgrade. And that might not just be through trains themselves, There's a particular one I want to point out here, Wire. Wire or Weir, I've been pronouncing it many different things. The proper pronunciation is Wire, and I do need to nail that down. But it is 4th on that list, with a population of over 800. It's a large town, but it's on its own island. What I need to do with that is probably connect that up with multiple different boats. Right now there is a very direct service from Wire over to Brunei, and that does quite well. It's got a large boat, it's very frequent because it's such a small distance. But as we're connecting up onto the mainland now, I'm probably going to have a direct service into Kirkwall, which you can see illustrated on the map. The two towns of Grobster and Whitehall, interestingly, I thought were some of the biggest on my map, but we've not touched them in so long they have really fallen behind. Additionally, there's been quite a few comments, particularly by Billy Twister. He's wanting me to really focus on cargo, and I need to start to turn my attention to cargo a lot more. The reason for that is if I supply towns with cargo, that means towns will grow, and that means a lot more of my upcoming train routes will have a much higher demand. That's where we're going to make our money, with cargo and high demand of trains, so we need to focus on that, and that's where we transition into our time lapse. We start the time lapse here in 1973 down by Longhope and Lyonesse, and this is where I started out my editing, because this route, especially the one between Longhope and Lyonesse, has been probably the least profitable route I've had on this map consistently so far. And the reason is really because we're having to go around the bay. Quite unfortunate, but again, going back to my rules at the start of the series, I cannot have a bridge where there's not a bridge in real life, and there's not a bridge over this bit of water. Throughout the episodes I have improved the road, but what I have decided to do is first of all upgrade the buses, change them from Sauder Tushers up to the MAN SL buses. The MAN SL buses go 50 miles per hour, and with our improved roads we can go ahead and pretty much achieve that all the way. And then when we get to the towns, right now in both towns we were serving about 5 or 6 bus stops. What I've done in both is pretty much narrowed it down really to about 3 or 4 in total, meaning that the buses can get through the towns much easier. It might not mean that the town itself is connected up as well, but I need to make this route profitable, and that is how I've gone ahead and done it, and we'll see how that works out later on. I then did something similar on the route between Lyonesse and Racwick. Originally I had 5 Mercedes-Benz buses on that route. The Mercedes-Benz has a capacity of 15 and a top speed of 38. Now because of the demands, it wasn't really doing very well. It was one of our worst performing routes. However, it was new, and Racwick is a very small town. But what I did was I removed one bus and then I replaced them with the MAN SL. MAN SL going up to 50 miles per hour. It does carry one extra passenger, but that one passenger is not going to make a difference, but 12 miles per hour would. So I went and made that change and only had 4 buses on that route. I contemplated, and I might have even taken it down to 3 at one point actually, while we just get the demand to build up, but that'll hopefully make a successful change going forward as well. The downfall, and the reason that you'll see different time stamps in the bottom right hand corner, is that all this took quite a lot of time for me to earn money, and I was having to speed up the game for 6 months, then make the changes which I wanted to do, and you'll see this throughout, and this is why this process took a total of about 10 years, and I'll talk about that more towards the end of the time lapse. Jumping away from there and over to the area between St Mary's, Bury, St Margaret's Hope, and then down to Cleet, the island of South Ronaldsay. Overall, things were doing quite mixed there. We added in the new train line as we've spoke about. I do feel that is doing well, but I built a bus route to support that in and around the town of St Margaret's, which was doing really poor. It had about 7 or 8 Mercedes-Benz on it, however it was losing me over 100,000, so I massively scaled that back. I went ahead and put on much more smaller buses, and I scaled the route it goes around the town to be a bit more effective. I still don't think that's necessarily the best thing to do though, and I'll try and work on that and maybe even add in the first tram on the map in there shortly. We do still have the bus coming up from Cleet into St Margaret's Hope though, so maybe I can try and modify it and incorporate that, but the vehicles were changed on both of those routes, some upgraded and some downgraded. Because of course now we've no longer got a bus going in between St Margaret's Hope and Bury, it means there's a lot less traffic on that road, which is good. That means though that the cargo vehicles which are travelling in between those towns, carrying crude oil down to the oil refinery, The crude oil depot, for those who don't know, is just to the east of the town of Bury, and then things need to go through Bury, through St Margaret's Hope to get to the oil refinery, so then things can be processed, turned into fuel and then supplied back to the towns. All of those cargo routes in and around there have been upgraded. There's quite a few of them. They've been upgraded to the most modern trucks, which means much more capacity for extra liquid, and that really should be a massive boost because there's quite a few routes there and they're already doing very well. Additionally, Bury and St Mary's connecting onto the mainland, that bus route there, they've had their buses upgraded as well. The next thing I did, I went and jumped over to our wonderful town of Bernine. There was a few bus routes there which weren't doing perfect. Essentially that town now is served by about 2.5 bus routes, you could say. The yellow route connecting up Bernine and Surin, that's not doing too bad. I was happy to leave that. We've worked on that quite a bit previously. However, we're having some difficulties with our green route, which was our bus really connecting up the suburbs with the yellow route and one of the ports. That didn't do too bad, but it needed a bit of work. I moved a few bus stops and I think that should make it much more profitable. And then also the red route as well, the capacity wasn't quite right, so I modified some buses there as well. One of the big things I did do while I was in the area is that I removed one of the class 101s going in between Bernine and Surin. The reason for this is because the demand wasn't really there for both of them at this stage, so I've decided in the meantime to basically withdraw one of the trains, and in the future we might go and add another one in when there's a bit more demand, or we'll actually spend a bit more time properly focusing on it. For now though, with just the one train, I think it's actually going to be more profitable and I think it's more justified. Moving all the way up to Braeswick and Kettletoft, that route was using some buses, the Daimlers, which are no longer actually available in with my road depots. Those buses, they go quite slow. I think they only go about 17 or 25 miles per hour. They have a very low capacity. I believe it's around about 11 off the top of my head. So it was time to upgrade that route, for example, and supply some MAN SLs. MAN SLs going 50 miles per hour, 16 capacity, perfect for the demand up there. That route was already doing quite well. It was at about 76k profit, and I just went ahead and increased that even more. I did something similarly as well with Grobster and Whitehall. I've not built the train yet because I didn't have enough money at the time, but we'll explore that later on in this episode. The final big thing I did, and this took a long time and I previously just sort of mentioned it, was the boats. I looked at every single boat route. Even if they're already profitable, I decided to go ahead and have a look at them and add in some new boats. Went for quite a mixture, and I'll go over that a little bit more in the live gameplay very shortly. The biggest thing I did was I got rid of the Schaffhausens. Schaffhausens are not profitable at all. They were really just a burden on me. For those who don't know the Schaffhausens, they're boats, part of the vanilla game, which have a capacity of 100, but they go very slow, about 17 miles per hour, and it was very difficult on some of my routes to get 100 people on the boat and then make it profitable over a long distance. I've got much smaller boats now, one of the best being the Moskva. That boat has a capacity of around about 60, but it can go about 25 miles per hour, and it's that perfect balance between capacity and speed which is really benefiting some of the routes. So I made quite a lot of changes there, which did cost me quite a bit of money, but in the long term it should give me a good return. With all these changes, I decided to just let the game run for a year or two and see how these changes actually had an effect. This also gave me a great opportunity as well to build up some capital, which means we can go ahead and spend that right now in the live gameplay. Welcome your faces, ladies and gentlemen, to the town of Evie. The year is 1982. Before we get in and see the balance sheet and see if we've actually made any money, which I'm pretty sure we have based on the balance down in the bottom left hand corner through the time lapses today, I want to mention two things. The first thing, did you enjoy that? A level of analysis I went into in the introduction there, which I guess, it's taken about 15 minutes of the episode. Really, it was me just breaking down a lot of the routes, making sure the right vehicles, towns, that sort of thing. Let me know if that was too much, because I was editing it and I realised it was a bit full on and it did take a lot of time, so please let me know if you enjoyed that. Additionally, I've also brought in a new mod. Because the time lapse are past 10 years, I missed quite a bit of new content out. To prevent that same issue happening in the future, when I am speeding the game up to try and generate money, I brought in the progression ×4 slower mod. So it means if I go onto ×3 speed, for example, the clock doesn't go at a very fast pace, but the game does. So that means I can speed the game up to make money, but it won't progress the calendar that much. With that said, let's have a look and see how things are doing. So, overall, first of all, we've got 4 million, that's quite good. I want to really highlight 1981 because that is the year which I really didn't spend much money. As we can see, income at 12 million, that is really good. I do think we can get a little bit more out of that as well, just with the new routes taking effect. We have then got a running cost of 7.8 million, it's basically 7 million really there. But the big thing is we've got property maintenance, that's on the rise. That's coming from stuff like ports, bus stops, train stations, that sort of thing. Overall, we're making about 4 million profit a year, which I am really happy about indeed, and hopefully things can only get better. Yes, again, we need to spend more money to make money, but we can continue to work on that throughout this episode. I did say that I wanted to jump onto the mainland. I don't think we're going to get to this episode. I'm going to connect up the roads this episode though. I think that's a big thing to do because that's actually going to take quite a lot of time just because we've got just so much ground to cover. Fortunately, the mainland is actually really flat, which is good. There is a little bit of hills. If we have a very quick look at the land, we can see nothing's really too bad. If I'm connecting up towns, we can quite easily go around a lot of these hills. You don't need to go through them or over them, which is good. Makes things nice and cheap. And then slowly but surely at a later stage, I'll do the industry when it is required. One big thing to point out is that there is a bridge between Stromness and Finnstown. I believe I have mentioned this before. It just means then that I don't have to build a long road or railway link round by Doonby. I can just go straight over the area of water there, which is good. With that said, let's get on to what I want to work on today. A few different bits and bobs. If we look at the individual profit on some of these, things have changed. Things have really changed. So the first thing is here overall our finance sheet for the boats. Big win. We've got some really profitable routes. We've got some routes which are, still doing okay and could be doing better. I think Brunei to Weir, we probably need to do something about the demand there because if we go to the port here at Brunei, 70 people waiting, that's quite a lot. So we can maybe add in something additionally there. Then also, yeah, Braeswick to Eddie. We've got room to improve, let's say that. Bus-wise, well, let's actually start at the cargo side of things, the good side of things, and then we'll look at the bad side. Things are doing phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. It's amazing to see how well the crude oil is doing down here in the town of Bury. That's really a connection between Bury and St Margaret's Hope. I'm not surprised at that, to be honest. The real reason that's happened is just because we've upgraded to the new MAN SL trucks. Eventually I'd like to get a railway line doing this route and we'll start to maybe build some foundations for that in this and the next episode. Then additionally we've got some really profitable bus routes, again using the new MAN SL buses. Can go up to 50 miles per hour as we can see this road vehicle doing here, road vehicle 154, as it comes in to St Margaret's Hope, which is quite nice. Then on top of that, we have some negatives to go and deal with. If we flip this balance up, we can see that we've got rid of most of the negativity, and it's not a large loss, but it's still something I don't want anyway. We're going to remove the Brunei Surin shortly, and I'll talk about that when we jump back up to that part of the map. Trains. Trains is something which I still don't think I have right, and we're going to be addressing that with the removal of that bus route between Brunei and Surin shortly. We can see here that we've got the train now upgraded. It's no longer a red arrow in between Bury and St Margaret's Hope. It's probably still not meeting demand though, that's the thing, so we need to try and work on that this episode. You can see the train is picking up speed. 39 passengers on the train, 44 waiting at St Margaret's Hope, and then we've also got 32 at Bury, so it's a possibility we can go ahead and double up this line. But that's going to cost, especially going over a river. but I think that would be worth it. Then all in all, we just need to try and continue to meet the demand, because we're not really doing that in a lot of places. For example, St Mary's, I've already upgraded the buses there, we're not meeting it. Up here, things are just a bit messy, so we need to try and continue to improve things overall here as well. Okay, where are we going to start? First things first, I'm actually thinking we're going to add in a few new boat services, because we do have a bit of finance. Right now we can see there's a lot of demand really between Bruneian and the Isle of Wyre. I'm just thinking we're going to add in a second boat. So we've got right now the Warsaw boat, or it's not the Warsaw boat, it's the Moskva boat. If we very quickly jump into my shipyard, we've got it's called the Moskva. Don't know why I thought Warsaw there, getting my capitals wrong, I guess you could say. I'm thinking what we're actually going to do is we're going to have an additional service going over to this port over here at the east side of Bruneian, and then that would maybe tie up nicely to what is going on with the... Or no, we're not. I've decided that, and I think this would be a better idea. I think we might as well go for the 93-seater boat instead, because that would be better. Right now we can see Bruneian to Egglesey, it's on a really good profit of 151,000. Big thing is the rate though, the rate is massive, and that's really what we need on the Bruneian to Weir route, I think. Although the rate is already quite high, it's at 900, we can go ahead and make that little bit better. So let's go and make that replacement, and then again we might go ahead and still make the upgrade in the future anyway, but for now I don't think we need to. I'm assuming that's using the boat project, so let's go and grab that and then place that on there. Costing me 1 million, but we got the money right now, which is good. And we can hopefully see some of this backlog being cleared out, because there's a lot of people waiting to sail right now. Additionally, there's so much more we can do, but I want to focus on what's going on here in between Bruneian and also the town of Surin. Right now we've got one single railway line and it's doing very well. It's only got one train on it. It used to have two, but the reason I think it was struggling was because it's competing with the bus route, the yellow line, which we've had for a long time, but it's not on the profit anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a second railway line, and we're going to have two railways going between the two towns. You can already see we've built one, that's fine. We've got this station down the bottom here, which we're going to connect up. And then, I think it was last episode, or maybe the episode before, we built this station. Why did I build this station? For this reason really, to connect up the two different parts of the two towns and have no buses. We didn't get round to getting this into action, that's what we're going to do now. So we're going to upgrade this station a little bit, we're also going to give it some high speed tracks, which is important. Then we need to try and get into the town, and this is going to be the real struggle, because I used to have a railway line. I never actually uploaded this clip, but I did speak about it, I think back in episode about 4 or something. We did build a railway line off camera, but I just could not get it profitable, and I tried about 2 different times, roughly following the same route, but I just don't think there was the demand at that time. Whereas now we've got Bruneian, population of over 1,000, Surin I think is just under 1,000, so we've got the demand now, and I think hopefully we should make it profitable. What I do want to do here, I'm just going to cut this motorway back a little bit here and tuck that in. We've got to deal with the landscape here, and this is going to be the painful thing. If we have a look at the topology, pretty aggressive, so we can definitely have it coming out and round a bit, but I don't want it really to swing out too much. I'm quite happy to go and pay for a tunnel, because I think that will be justified in this situation. So let's try and see what we can do here first of all. Let's try and... I don't want the train to drop too much, but it's probably going to drop quite a bit actually. I don't want to lose any speed here either, because eventually we might have super fast high speed trains on this route. So if we can try and keep this relatively straight. I realise this is going to cost me a lot of money, but it's going to be worth it in the long term anyway. Then we need to sort of just go for it. I think we just need to build a tunnel. We're going to have to build a tunnel. So we can still get through there for 154k. Then this is where things are going to be interesting. We're not going to be able to drop enough height here, are we? Okay. So we can't build this far up the hill. That's fair enough. If we try and just drill through the hill from there, Does that bring us out about the right height? It probably does actually. And then what we can do is we can have, I don't really want to drop much lower speed than that. Height wise, can we drop a bit more in height though? Can't really. Are we going to be fine there? I don't think we are going to be fine there. That is my concern. Tell you what, I'm going to very quickly speed this part up, and once I've got the line I will return. So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the chosen route. So it's going through a tunnel. It cost me about $1 million to build. Not too gutted at that price, to be honest. Done a tiny bit of terraforming as well, just to tidy things up. But that has us got our Brunei to Soren West train line. I've given it the colour yellow just because it is replacing the yellow bus. We all know the yellow bus. We've had the yellow bus essentially in since Route 1 or Episode 1. It's been modified a lot though, but that colour is sort of the original which we're sort of replacing, so I've given it that colour. But now it's time to try and fund the train for this route, which I'm going to do by getting rid of the bus. Bus not doing great right now, but we've got so many vehicles on here. I think about, it must be over 20 in total. We're going to make quite a bit of money out of this. So if we go and sell all the vehicles and then we close the route, that's going to have quite a drastic consequence quite quickly. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a train on the route quite quickly. Just going to start off with one, and we're going to play with demand as we're going to do on our newly named East line, because that's already quite close to deserving an upgrade. Looking at the two lines though, you can definitely tell that one's a lot longer than the other really, and that means that there's going to be less frequency, so it's probably going to be different kinds of trains and also different numbers of trains on each track. We're going to start off with a Class 101 on this route just because that's a good train to start off with. As I said, we have unlocked a lot of new unlocks during the time lapse. My mistake. There's not too much we're going to be using yet though, so we've not really missed too much content. TGVs have come out though. Again, I really don't think we'll be using them anytime soon. I mean, 28 million just doesn't grow on trees, and I can't take a loan and one hard mode, so can't see that happening anytime soon. But we do, and I think long term we might try and go for trains like this, but not just yet. Let's start off with a 2-car Class 101 should I say, DMU, when we get a little bit more money, which we're not too far off right now. This is the good thing now, I'm just speeding the game up, but the calendar isn't going through too fast, which is good, so I'm quite happy with this new mod in the game. And then let's set that to go. Probably waiting on all the buses returning to the depot anyway. As we can see, there's a few buses coming through the town now. This one's off to be sold, which is good. What I can now do as well is I can start to clear up some of these bus stops which are now no longer being used. Probably means as well we can actually see how the town is being served. It's probably not being served very well now in parts, which that's one of the reasons why the yellow bus route stayed for so long. So we might have to make some more changes again with the green bus, but I mean I'm not going to do that right now because I just did that in the time lapse anyway. But I'm now hoping that the demand is drastically going to change for the trains. That's the real thing which I'm quite excited about. Then also we should probably see quite a bit of success coming out of the green bus route. 22,000 right now, so it's not doing too bad. Then we also have the red route, which is actually in the negative right now, so might see a bit more come of this as time goes on, but we'll have to wait and see. So we're now going to jump over to Grobster and Whitehall, two towns which have already got a railway line built between them, but there's no train, so we can definitely sort that out right now. We've gone and upgraded the line to high speed, which is good. Currently we've got a bus route right now, which, to be honest, is actually quite successful in its own right, and it's also got new buses on it, making 100k, but I do feel it's time to make that change and jump over to the railway. What we're probably going to need to do though is upgrade the train stations to have second street connections, just so they have a little bit more of an effect. Gonna demolish that house there, cost me quite a bit of money, but I think that is worth it, and then we can do similar there. Then coming up to Grobster here, let's do something similar, cost me a tiny bit to remove a building there. Now my concern is, do I have bus routes in with these towns as well? For now, we're probably not going to start off with any, and then we'll just see how the train does really. This episode, or this part of the episode anyway, is really just about trains and really getting them connected up and seeing how we can do with them. What we're going to do is I think we're going to stick the train depot. Thing is, eventually I'm expecting to maybe actually move some cargo on these lines as well. But I need to plan that out more, so that's really not something for now. So what we'll do is we'll build a train yard, or what's it called, a train depot even, here. And then this can serve the line going back and forward really, really easily. So with the line now named, we can see that we've got a red arrow on this route. And the reason I've started off with a red arrow is mainly financially. I can't really afford another class 101 right now. But I want to jump back over to where we've just left and try and deal with the demand, because we have not really dealt with things back over in Brunei and Surin. Additionally, right now, because I'm only running a red arrow, we're going to be keeping the bus route for now, just so the train line can sort of just ease into things, and then we'll remove the bus, because it's quite clear I've jumped away from here too quickly, and that's caused a lot of issues in with these towns, and that means that I'm probably going to do something similar if I just remove the bus over in Grobster and Whitehall right now. So we're going to focus on dealing with this, and then we'll jump back over to there. So what have I done? Well, I've gone ahead and added the new train in. The new train isn't doing great. The reason for that is because there's not enough demand right now. Currently 11 people waiting at the Brunei station and up in Surin. The train's pulling in and there's only 10 people there. So we're going to pause and we're actually going to upgrade by downgrading the train to a red arrow as well. Now, catastrophically, it's not actually really catastrophic if you have a look at it. Right now, speed-wise, the red arrow is actually faster, which is good. But it's going to have a much lower running cost just because we are in the fortunate situation where it is going to be closer to the needs of just the numbers right now until we get a better demand. That's really what I'm trying to say. The big thing is though, over at the other station, that is where the demand has risen, and then also we've got a bus route in with the town of Surin, which we should probably go and try and improve upon. And then also we need to try and get ourselves out of this mess which is going on over here with our additional connections, because right now things are not looking great. So if we go and add that street connection in there, we can add another street connection in, hopefully along here somewhere, though it looks like we've got some terrain issues. Don't really need to build at that side right now anyway though, so that's fine. And then over here, we've not actually added in any street connections additionally here, so we'll go and do that now while we can. We'll then connect that up to this road here. Costing me a little bit of money, but that's now going to help serve a few of the houses here, so that might try and increase things here. The big thing I really do want to do though as well is try and build a road along there, just to see if people get off the boat and maybe use this entrance. Again, it could help things out in the long term. With that said then, that should hopefully help improve things. I want to try and increase the size of the train currently in between Brunei and Surin on this eastern line, because I think there's definitely the demand there. It's also doing very well profitability wise. If we have a look at the next train up, so that's 39 capacity, let's say we go for 61. It's not going to cost much more actually. How much is it going to cost to upgrade? It's actually only going to cost 2.34 million, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for that and then I'm going to go ahead and go for the upgrade. So a bit of time has passed and I've gone and made the upgrade. I've spent quite a bit of money actually. First of all, we can now see that we have managed to clear the backlog out of Brunei. That's a good thing. The reason that there's probably not a backlog now is because I'm not moving enough people by the bus, so we'll add in a few more buses. There's a lot of people waiting up in the town of Surin though. The reason for that is probably because I made a change to the bus, which is quite exciting. We can also start to see now that that figure is jumping around quite a bit, but it's slowly, I think, starting to increase, which is a good thing to see. The new bus route in with the town, it has sort of rerouted itself, or I've rerouted it, and it now goes from one train station to the other train station via the ports, and it sort of goes up to the top of the town as well, which is a good additional thing to have. And eventually I'm going to go and connect this port up with an extra boat. Not at all sure when that'll be, but it just really depends on the population needs Again, I think over to Egglesey or possibly up to Rapness. I think that would be a good addition once Rapness grows a little bit more. I then think that we're actually having really good success now with our Western Railway line. That's now in the profit, which is good. That's just running one red arrow right now, but it is doing a good job. It's in the profit and I can't complain. If something's in the profit, then it's all good. So we're going to leave that for the time being, and we're going to return over to our mess over at Grobster and Whitehall. Now I say mess, it's not really a mess, but we are losing a lot of money right now. I consider that poor, so we're going to sort that out. First things first we need to do is really remove the bus line, because that is in direct competition and that's probably eating away at our market share. Is there anyone actually on the train? Because that's something which interests me quite a bit. 2 passengers right now, there is a whopping 3 passengers waiting, so that is not good, but we're going to remove the bus routes. Before we do that though, I'm going to make a few changes. There is 2 point-to-points, or there is a point-to-point opportunity in Whitehall. We've got the train station, then we've got the port. So we can easily get a connection between these two, and we should probably add in an extra boat on this route anyway, to be honest. Let's very quickly have a look and see how things are doing. So this is Braeswick Whitehall. It's doing financially phenomenal, but it's only got 2 hovercraft carrying 15 people each. We can probably do with at least another hovercraft, if not more. It's very interesting to see actually that it is a bit of a lopsided route though. Currently got 128 people waiting here, whereas up at Braeswick it is a lot less. It is only, what, 23 people in total. So I do think that it is important that we add an extra hovercraft onto this route, but probably not more than that, because then I'll just have hovercrafts going empty one way and then full the other way, which is really not what I'm wanting to have. However, we can have and adapt things a little bit more, because this island right now, Grobster to Whitehall, is only connected up to Braeswick. That's its only connection. Could easily add something in the future to Eddie directly, or Kettletoft, or we can connect up Grobster, possibly down to the mainland where we jump onto that. Hopefully, and I say hopefully, I'm surely it will be, it's got to be in the next episode. Okay, so let's make this bus change. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pre-existing routes, which is going to be interesting. Right now it's doing not too bad, 125k, can't complain. You know what, we're actually not going to take the existing routes. I'm going to modify things slightly, yes. And I'm probably going to steal a few buses from it, but I'm not actually going to take the route itself. So first thing I want to do is I want to make a new road here, and try not spend too much money. So I think that has been achieved. We're going to add in a new bus stop down by the waterfront here. We can continue to let the game play in the background. And then what we need to do is connect up the train station and the port, while also serving a fair amount of the town. That's what I'd really like to do. So we're going to have our, I guess, train station bus stop here, and we're actually going to encourage people to come in the side. Going to stop at that bus stop there, stop there, stop there, stop there, there. And then we can probably just have another bus stop over here. And then that could be our exit. So let me very quickly go and link up all these bus stops, how I see this route going in the future. So we start over here at Church Road, call it George Street, and then go down to the harbour. Then we make our way along out via New Road, come along via Main Street, and you'll notice that this is following a lot of the old bus route. We know this bus route is successful, so we might as well continue to use a lot of the bus stops that we're currently using and continue to see great success here. So that's the route. It's difficult to sort of see with all the overlays, but it's still going to cover a large portion of the town, and it hopefully should be quite profitable because it's connecting up the train station with the harbour, with a part of the town which has got a fair amount of buildings in it, and hopefully they'll be wanting to travel to the train station and port, so I'm hoping to see good things out of this. Let me go ahead and name this. So with this new bus route going around the town of Whitehall and Brown, we can go and start to transfer some vehicles over, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to transfer quite a few of these over. I realise this is going to take a bit of time, and I'm just going to choose them at random wherever they are on the map. Let's transfer over maybe 5 vehicles to get me started here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to entirely remove the remainder of the blue route, because I don't think I'm going to need that many buses as of yet. they'll wait to see the demand. As we can see now, you can really clearly see what we're going for now. It is quite an interesting route. It weaves around quite a lot, but as I said, I think it should be okay financially. Let me just clear up a few of these unused bus stops, and we're all good. My next concern though is down in Grobster and how this is going to have an effect, because Grobster is now, as we can see, lots of people are turning up to the train station, but there's not really too much connecting up the rest of Grobster. I can imagine now the percentage of line usage is probably, or already has gone and dropped. It's now actually maybe going to start to shrink, as it's indicating with the minus there. So let's go ahead and try and sort that out. We can do that through adding back in a bus route. How are we going to do this though? We're going to call it quite a few of the original stops. What I want to do is I want to have a stop down this lane here. Then if we call at... let's just sort of just go around the town. I think that's the best idea, to be honest, and follow a lot of the stops we originally used to do. Let's go and add in a stop there though, and then let's remove that stop there. And then I think that should probably do the trick actually. Let's get rid of that stop there as well. And let's add in one more, say over here. We can also upgrade a few of the roads here. I think that would be a good idea. Let's go and grab ourselves a line manager and let's connect all these up how I envision this. Interestingly, it's chosen the dark blue, which was the colour of the original route between Whitehall and Grobster. So it's quite similar to what we've got going on over on Burnine and Surin, what I did with giving the colour of the bus route yellow over to the railway route. But that is what we're going for. So again, connecting up a large portion of the town in a similar way that it was before. Connecting up the train station sort of at both sides and serving a lot of the town. I'm less sure that this route will be profitable, to be honest. I will have to wait and see, but it's good to see that we're already getting the demand up for the train, which is good. And we can probably go and upgrade that straight away. The final thing I need to do now is just add in some buses. We're going to go and add in 5 of these Mercedes-Benz buses. And then that is going to serve our route around the town of Grobster. So off they go. And hopefully that will lead to some success. But we'll come back and monitor this one because I'm a bit unsure. Final thing we're going to do now though is we're going to upgrade the train, because the train definitely now has, or the train route should I say, has a higher demand. So we can go for the 2-car DMU, that's where we're going to start, and then if we need to we can always go to the 3-car DMU. But with that change we're going to over double the capacity. Interestingly right now there's actually not a lot of people waiting up in Whitehall, so I'm glad we've only gone for the 2-car right now, but I'm sure things will change as the bus is kick into action, which is good. So with that said, let's very quickly just fly over and see how we're doing over at Burnine and Surin before we end the episode. So first of all, train wise, we're a bit all over the place, to be honest. We're gonna hopefully start to see success come from Grobster Whitehall. We've got some success going on our yellow route right now. Wouldn't say there's enough demand yet anyway to go and upgrade that train. We'll try and continue to work on that though. Buddy and Hope, that's a separate issue. And then the Eastern line seems to be doing good. Quite happy with the train right now. It's doing relatively well profit wise, so we're going to leave it. Eventually we might split this into 2 38-car trains, or 39, it's 39 people, sorry. We might split this up to 2 trains, but right now I think I'm quite happy with just the 1. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap things up here. There's so much more we could touch on in this episode, but I'm not going to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to end with a time lapse of me connecting up all the towns on the mainland via road. As we can see in the background, there is a bunch of sped up clips of me connecting up all the towns on the mainland. Not going to show it in real time because it isn't that exciting, but good thing is that there's a lot of cars already using the roads. I'm not surprised at that, to be honest, as we've already connected up a few of the towns on the mainland anyway. Overall, this whole process cost me about 6 million in total. That's through about 5.5 million of roads and then some terraforming. I tried in most places anyway to follow the contour lines and try and follow the landscape as it would be in real life, and I've connected up most towns in a reasonable way. I am going to try and improve some bypasses at a later stage around some towns. Then I also might build some more direct roads between two certain towns when there is a need, but for the time being I've just gone ahead and connected up all the towns in probably the most economical way I could. That is all for this episode, ladies and gentlemen, so please leave a like, rating and subscribe if you are new around here. Go down into that description below and check out my Twitter, my Patreon and my Discord. All links are down there, and any support you can show me on any of those would be greatly appreciated. Once again, a massive thanks to Nicole H for supporting me over on Patreon, and that is all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Bigfoot, and I'm out.